Hello, and welcome back to the Easy Speak podcast. I am so happy you are here with us today.
Hey everyone, yes, welcome. Whether you are listening on your morning walk, on the bus, or just relaxing at home, we are really glad you chose to spend this time with us.
Today's episode is one that I have been thinking about for a long time. It is personal. It is something I think almost every person on this planet has felt at some point in their life.
And I have a feeling that as soon as you hear the title, you're going to think, yes, I know exactly what that feels like.
The topic today is letting go of who you used to be.
Letting go of who you used to be. That's a big idea, right? But do not worry, we're not going to make this heavy or complicated. We're just going to talk, like we always do. Honest, calm, and real.
Exactly. And as always, this conversation is designed for you to practice your English. So listen carefully, enjoy the ideas, and let the language flow naturally into your mind.
We believe the best way to learn English is through real conversations about real topics. And this topic, letting go of who you used to be, this is as real as it gets.
So let us begin. Let us start by just asking a simple question. Who were you 5 years ago?
Oh, that's already a deep question, and we're only 1 minute in.
Well, that's the point. Think about it for a moment. Who were you 5 years ago? What did you believe? What did you want? How did you see yourself?
I love this question because I think most people, when they really stop and think about it, they realize they were actually a very different person. Maybe they had different dreams, different fears, different habits.
And here's the interesting thing. Sometimes we grow and change, and that's beautiful. But sometimes we're still holding on to an old version of ourselves, and that's where life starts to feel stuck.
Stuck, yes. I want to talk about that word. What do you mean by stuck exactly?
So the word stuck, S-T-U-C-K, it means you cannot move forward. You are not going anywhere. Like if you push your car and the wheels won't turn, the car is stuck. In life, when we feel stuck, it means we feel like we cannot grow, we cannot change, we cannot move ahead.
Right, and stuck can also mean you're holding on to something that's keeping you in one place. Like if you're in mud, your feet are stuck in the mud, you can't walk forward easily.
Exactly. Stuck. So today, we want to talk about that feeling and, more importantly, how to move through it by letting go of who you used to be.
And I think the first thing we need to say is this: letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean your past was bad or that you should be ashamed of it.
That's so important. Letting go is not about erasing your history. It's about making space for who you are becoming.
Making space. I like that phrase, making space. So you're not deleting the old you, you're just giving room to the new you.
Exactly. And I think this is something a lot of people misunderstand. They think if I let go of who I was, I'm somehow betraying myself. Or they think it means the past version of them was wrong or bad.
But it wasn't wrong, it was just where you were at that moment. At that point in your life, you were doing your best with what you had, with what you knew.
And now you know more. Now you have more experience. Now you have a different understanding of life. So it makes sense that you would change.
Yes, growing is natural. It's actually the most natural thing in the world. Think about trees. A tree doesn't stay a small seed forever. It grows. It changes. It gets bigger, stronger. Its roots go deeper.
And nobody looks at a big tree and says, "Why are you not a seed anymore?" That would be strange.
Very strange. But we do that to ourselves sometimes, don't we? We look at ourselves and say, why am I not the same as I was before? Why have I changed?
Or other people say it to us, and that can be even harder to deal with.
Oh, that's a whole other layer. When the people
Hello, and welcome back to the Easy Speak podcast. I am so happy you are here with us today.
Hey everyone, yes, welcome. Whether you are listening on your morning walk, on the bus, or just relaxing at home, we are really glad you chose to spend this time with us.
Today's episode is one that I have been thinking about for a long time. It is personal. It is something I think almost every person on this planet has felt at some point in their life.
And I have a feeling that as soon as you hear the title, you're going to think, yes, I know exactly what that feels like.
The topic today is letting go of who you used to be.
Letting go of who you used to be. That's a big idea, right? But do not worry, we're not going to make this heavy or complicated. We're just going to talk, like we always do. Honest, calm, and real.
Exactly. And as always, this conversation is designed for you to practice your English. So listen carefully, enjoy the ideas, and let the language flow naturally into your mind.
We believe the best way to learn English is through real conversations about real topics. And this topic, letting go of who you used to be, this is as real as it gets.
So let us begin. Let us start by just asking a simple question. Who were you 5 years ago?
Oh, that's already a deep question, and we're only 1 minute in.
Huh, well, that's the point. Think about it for a moment. Who were you 5 years ago? What did you believe? What did you want? How did you see yourself?
I love this question because I think most people, when they really stop and think about it, they realize they were actually a very different person. Maybe they had different dreams, different fears, different habits.
And here's the interesting thing. Sometimes we grow and change, and that's beautiful. But sometimes we're still holding on to an old version of ourselves, and that's where life starts to feel stuck.
Stuck, yes. I want to talk about that word. What do you mean by stuck exactly?
So the word stuck, S-T-U-C-K, it means you cannot move forward. You are not going anywhere. Like if you push your car and the wheels won't turn, the car is stuck. In life, when we feel stuck, it means we feel like we cannot grow, we cannot change, we cannot move ahead.
Right, and stuck can also mean you're holding on to something that's keeping you in one place. Like if you're in mud, your feet are stuck in the mud, you can't walk forward easily.
Exactly. Stuck. So today, we want to talk about that feeling and, more importantly, how to move through it by letting go of who you used to be.
And I think the first thing we need to say is this: letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean your past was bad or that you should be ashamed of it.
That's so important. Letting go is not about erasing your history. It's about making space for who you are becoming.
Making space. I like that phrase, making space. So you're not deleting the old you, you're just giving room to the new you.
Exactly. And I think this is something a lot of people misunderstand. They think if I let go of who I was, I'm somehow betraying myself. Or they think it means the past version of them was wrong or bad.
But it wasn't wrong, it was just where you were at that moment. At that point in your life, you were doing your best with what you had, with what you knew.
And now you know more. Now you have more experience. Now you have a different understanding of life. So it makes sense that you would change.
Yes, growing is natural. It's actually the most natural thing in the world. Think about trees. A tree doesn't stay a small seed forever. It grows. It changes. It gets bigger, stronger. Its roots go deeper.
And nobody looks at a big tree and says, "Why are you not a seed anymore?" That would be strange.
Very strange. But we do that to ourselves sometimes, don't we? We look at ourselves and say, why am I not the same as I was before? Why have I changed?
Or other people say it to us, and that can be even harder to deal with.
Oh, that's a whole other layer. When the people around you are used to the old version of you, and then you start to change, sometimes they don't know how to react.
Right, and sometimes they even resist your change. They say things like, "That's not like you," or "You have changed so much," as if it's a bad thing.
But change is not a bad thing. Change is often the sign that you've been doing the inner work, that you've been growing.
Inner work. Let's talk about that phrase for a moment. Inner work. The word inner means inside, the inside part of something. So inner work means the work you do on the inside, not your job, not your appearance, but your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs.
So, like if you spend time thinking about why you react a certain way to certain situations, that's inner work. If you ask yourself, why do I feel scared of failure, and you try to understand it, that's inner work.
Exactly. Inner work is quiet work. It doesn't always look like anything from the outside, but it changes everything.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's hard, because you can't see it happening. You can't put it on your shelf and say, look what I made. It's invisible.
But the effects are not invisible. Over time, the effects become very visible. You react differently, you communicate differently, you choose differently.
Yes, and sometimes you look back and you think, wow, I would never react to that situation the same way I did 2 years ago. And that's growth. That's the result of inner work.
I think a lot of people struggle with that. They feel something difficult and immediately they try to push it away. They say, I should not feel this way. I have no reason to feel sad. Stop being like this.
And that self-criticism, that inner voice that judges your own feelings, that can actually make things worse. Because the feeling does not go away, it just goes underground.
Underground, yes. The feeling hides. It goes deeper inside where you cannot easily see it, but it is still there, and it affects your behavior, your choices, your relationships, without you even realizing it.
So the first step is to bring things back to the surface, to acknowledge what you feel, to allow it to be there without judgment.
Without judgment, that is key. Without judging yourself for feeling the way you feel.
Okay, so let us pause here for a moment and get really practical, because we've been talking about some big ideas, letting go of old identities, entering new territory, acknowledging feelings. These are all great concepts, but how does someone actually do this in real life?
That is the right question. Let's get into that. I think the first practical step is becoming aware, just noticing. Before you can let go of anything, you have to first notice what you are holding on to.
So, for example, if every time you try to do something new, a voice in your head says, you cannot do this, you are not that kind of person, then just notice that. Don't fight it, just notice it.
Notice it like you would notice a cloud in the sky. You don't grab the cloud, you don't fight the cloud, you just look at it and say, there's a cloud.
I like that. There's a thought, there's an old belief. It's just passing through.
And then you can ask yourself, where did this belief come from? When did I first start thinking this about myself?
And sometimes you won't have a clear answer. Sometimes you won't be able to trace it back to one specific moment, and that's okay too.
Yes, it is okay. The point is just to create a little distance between you and the thought. To say, this is a thought I have. It's not necessarily the truth. It's not necessarily who I am.
A thought I have, not a fact about me.
Exactly. And that little shift, that small change in perspective, can start to loosen the grip of the old identity.
Loosen the grip, so the old identity has been holding on tight, and awareness starts to loosen it, like when you relax your hand and something that was held tightly slowly falls free.
Yes, and I think the second practical step is to give yourself permission to change.
Permission? That's interesting. Why would someone need to give themselves permission? Is it not natural to just change?
You would think so, but many people feel like they need permission from others to change. They worry about what their family will think, what their friends will say, whether people will still like them.
Ah, yes, the fear of being rejected or misunderstood because you have changed.
And sometimes people even feel like they need to stay the same to keep certain relationships. Like, if I change too much, they won't recognize me anymore. They won't love me anymore.
And that fear can keep someone trapped in an old version of themselves for years.
For decades even. So giving yourself permission to change means saying, I don't need everyone's approval to grow. I'm allowed to become a different version of myself, a better version, a more authentic version.
Authentic. Let's talk about that word.
Authentic means real, genuine, true to yourself. An authentic version of yourself means the version that is most true to who you really are, deep inside.
And often, the old version of ourselves was not fully authentic. It was shaped by what others expected, by what was safe, by what was familiar.
So becoming more authentic sometimes means becoming less recognizable to the people who knew the old you.
And that can be painful, for you and for them. But it's also necessary if you want to live a full, honest life.
So we've talked about awareness, giving yourself permission. What else is part of this process?
I think another important step is practicing self-compassion.
Self-compassion. Okay, so compassion means caring about someone's pain and wanting to help them, and self-compassion means doing that for yourself.
Yes, treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer to a good friend. If your best friend was going through a difficult change, you wouldn't say, "What is wrong with you? Why can't you just figure this out?"
Right. You would say, hey, I understand this is hard. You're doing your best. Take your time. I believe in you.
And we need to say that to ourselves, too, especially when we're in the messy middle of change, when we're no longer who we used to be, but we're not yet who we are becoming.
The messy middle. That's such an honest way to describe it, because change is not a clean, straight line. It's messy. It's sometimes one step forward and two steps back.
And during the messy middle, self-compassion is what keeps you going. It's the kind inner voice that says, "This is hard, but you're doing it. Keep going." And without self-compassion, that messy middle can feel unbearable, and people give up. They go back to the old version of themselves because it's easier.
Easier doesn't always mean better, though.
No, it definitely doesn't. Okay, let's talk about something else that comes up a lot when people try to change, and that is grief.
Grief, yes. When most people hear that word, they think of death, of losing someone they love, but grief can come from many kinds of loss.
Grief means the pain you feel when you lose something that mattered to you. And when you let go of an old version of yourself, there's often a real sense of loss there.
Because that old version was a part of you. Even if it wasn't serving you well, you were familiar with it. It was your home in a way.
Your comfort zone was your home. And even if it was a small house, it was yours. You knew every corner. You knew where things were.
And now you're moving into a bigger house. But at first, a new, unfamiliar space can feel lonely and strange.
Exactly. So grieving the old version of yourself is normal. It's not weakness. It's actually a sign that you're taking the change seriously, that you understand the weight of what you're doing.
The weight of what you're doing. So letting go has gravity. It's not light, it's real.
And I think when people allow themselves to grieve the old version, actually feel that sadness, they move through it more cleanly, instead of carrying that unresolved grief for years.
Unresolved. That means it hasn't been worked through. It hasn't been completed, like an unfinished story.
Yes, and we all have unresolved things inside us. Old pain that was never fully felt. Old chapters that were never properly closed.
So part of letting go of who you used to be is going back, gently, and closing some of those chapters.
Closing the chapter. I love that as a metaphor. Like in a book, you've been rereading the same chapter over and over, and it's time to finally turn the page.
Turn the page and start writing the next one.
But here's a question. What if you don't know who you are becoming? What if you let go of the old version of yourself, but you don't have a clear picture of the new version is?
Oh, that's such a real feeling. That in-between space where you're no longer the old you, but the new you hasn't fully arrived yet.
It can feel very disorienting. Disorienting means you feel confused, you feel lost, like you don't know which direction to look.
Yes, and in that moment it can feel scary, like something is wrong.
But that feeling of disorientation is not the same as something being wrong. It is just what it feels like to be between two versions of yourself.
Between two versions of yourself. I want to sit with that idea, because I think that is where a lot of people are right now, listening to this. They have already let go of some things, but they have not fully arrived anywhere new yet.
And to those people, I would say this is not a failure. This is the most important part of the journey. This in-between place is where real transformation happens.
Transformation. That is a powerful word. Transformation means a deep, complete change, not just a small adjustment, but a real shift in who you are.
Like the transformation of a caterpillar into a butterfly. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar does not know it is becoming a butterfly. It is just going through a process that feels like it is falling apart.
And from the outside, you cannot see what is happening inside that cocoon. It just looks like nothing, but everything is changing.
Everything is changing. So if you are in that cocoon stage right now, if you feel like things are uncertain and unclear, just trust that something is happening. Something is being built inside you.
Even if you cannot see it yet.
Even if you cannot see it yet.
Okay, let's take this in a slightly different direction. Let's talk about relationships. Because I think letting go of who you used to be also affects the people around you, and that can be complicated.
Yes, very complicated, because our relationships are often built on a specific version of us, the version that people met, that people fell in love with, that people became friends with.
And sometimes those people are not ready for you to change. They liked the old version. They were comfortable with the old dynamic.
Dynamic. That means the way things work between people, the pattern of a relationship, how two people interact with each other.
So the dynamic might be that you were always the quiet one, and your friend was always the louder, more confident one. And then suddenly you start to become more confident and expressive. The dynamic shifts.
And that shift can feel threatening to the other person, not because they are bad, but because change is uncomfortable for everyone.
So what do you do when your growth creates tension in your relationships?
That's one of the hardest questions. I think the first thing is to have compassion for the other person too. They are not used to this. They might feel like they are losing you, even though you are still there.
They might interpret your change as a rejection of them. Like if you used to complain about life with them all the time and now you're trying to be more positive, they might feel judged, like you're saying their way of thinking is wrong.
When really, you are just trying to find a better way for yourself. You're not judging them.
But they don't always know that, so communication becomes so important in those moments.
Communication. Let's acknowledge how important that word is. Communication is not just talking. It's sharing your inner world with someone else. It's helping them understand where you are and why.
And sometimes saying something simple like, I'm going through some changes right now, and I'm still figuring things out, can help the other person feel less confused.
Yes, you don't have to explain everything. You don't have to justify your growth. But just letting someone know, hey, I'm in a process, can create a little more understanding.
And then there's the harder situation. What if someone in your life actively discourages your growth? What if they keep pulling you back toward the old version of yourself?
That's very painful because it can come from people you love deeply, family members, longtime friends, partners.
And it's not always done with bad intentions. Sometimes people keep you in the old version because they're afraid that if you grow too much, you'll leave them behind.
Or afraid that your growth will highlight areas where they haven't grown, which can make them feel uncomfortable with themselves.
Your growth can sometimes act like a mirror for others.
Yes, and not everyone is ready to look in that mirror.
So what do? Do you slow down your growth to protect the relationship? Or do you keep going and risk losing the relationship?
I don't think there's one universal answer, but I think the question to ask yourself is, does this relationship support my best self, or does it require me to stay small?
Stay small. That phrase is meaningful. Staying small means hiding your true potential, not taking up the space you deserve, shrinking yourself to make others comfortable.
And you can't grow while you're staying small. At some point, the two things cannot coexist.
Coexist, so they cannot exist together in the same space at the same time.
Exactly. Like light and darkness. When you turn on the light, the darkness can't stay.
So sometimes, as painful as it is, growing means changing the nature of certain relationships, or in some cases, ending them.
And that's a grief too. Losing a relationship, even if it wasn't healthy, is a real loss, and it deserves to be grieved.
But on the other side of that grief is often new connection, new relationships with people who know and love the new version of you, who encourage you, who understand you.
People who see you fully, not who you were, but who you are becoming.
In those kinds of relationships, they feel completely different. There's less performance, less pretending, less hiding.
More authenticity, more ease, more genuine connection.
I think that's one of the most beautiful rewards of doing the inner work. The quality of your relationships changes.
Yes, you start attracting people who match your new frequency.
Frequency. Interesting word choice. Like a radio.
Exactly, like a radio. If you're tuned to one frequency, you receive certain signals. When you change your frequency, you receive different signals.
People who are on the same level, who share similar values, similar energy, similar mindset.
And that shift in your social world can feel very validating. It confirms that you made the right choice by changing.
Even though it was hard, even though it was scary.
Hard and scary, but worth it.
Okay, let's shift gears a little. Let's talk about habits, because I think our habits are one of the most powerful places where the old identity lives.
Oh yes, habits are like the fingerprints of your old self. They carry the shape of who you used to be.
And habits are hard to break, not because we're weak, but because habits are literally built into the brain. The brain loves efficiency. It wants to do things on autopilot.
Autopilot, yes, like an airplane that can fly itself without the pilot doing anything. Our habits are like that. They run on own, without us thinking. So even if you decide, I want to be a different person, your habits might still be pulling you back to the old behavior without you even noticing.
And then they think, what is wrong with me? Why can't I change? But the problem is not a character flaw. The problem is that change has to happen at the level of the habit, not just the level of the idea.
So it's not enough to think differently. You have to behave differently, consistently, over time. And that takes repetition. The brain builds new pathways through repetition. Every time you choose a new behavior, you're making that new pathway a little stronger.
Like a path through a field, at first the grass is tall. You have to push through it. It's hard. But every time you walk the same path, the grass gets flattened, and eventually it becomes an easy, clear trail.
That's a perfect image. And the old trail, the old habit path, if you stop walking it, the grass starts to grow back. It becomes less clear, less automatic.
So you build the new path by walking it again and again, even when it's hard, even when you make mistakes, even when you take a wrong turn.
You just go back and walk it again. That's the work. That's the patient daily work of becoming who you want to be.
And I think patience is really essential here, because in our world today, we're used to fast results. We want things to change quickly. We want transformation in a weekend.
Ha, like a quick fix, a 2-day workshop that will completely change your life.
And those things can be helpful as a starting point, but real, lasting transformation takes time. It takes months, sometimes years.
And that's not a discouraging thing. That's just an honest thing.
Yes, being honest with yourself about the time it takes actually helps you stay the course, because you're not expecting it to be done by next week.
Staying the course. That means continuing on the path, not giving up, not changing direction every 5 minutes.
Staying the course even when you can't see the finish line, even when you're tired, even when you doubt yourself.
Doubt. Let's talk about that for a moment. Self-doubt is such a constant companion during change.
Self-doubt means you question yourself. You're not sure if you're doing the right thing. You wonder if you're capable, if you deserve the change, if it will actually work.
And self-doubt can be very loud during the in-between phase, when you're not the old you anymore, but you're not fully the new you yet. The doubt says, see, this is not working. You should just go back.
But self-doubt is not truth. Self-doubt is just fear wearing a very convincing costume.
Fear wearing a convincing costume. Ha, that's a great way to put it. Doubt feels logical.
It feels like it is just being realistic, but often it is just fear trying to protect you from the discomfort of change.
And the way to work with doubt is not to fight it, because if you fight it, it gets louder, but to acknowledge it and then keep moving anyway.
Acknowledge it. There's that word again. I hear you, doubt. I know you are there, and I'm still choosing to move forward.
That's real courage.
That is real courage.
Okay, I want to ask you something a little more personal. Have you ever gone through this yourself? A period where you had to let go of an old version of yourself?
Of course, I think anyone who is honest with themselves will say yes. I went through a period in my life where I had defined myself very much by my role in a particular relationship, and when that relationship changed, I suddenly did not know who I was without it.
That is so relatable because we do build so much of our identity around our roles. Not just relationships, but jobs, communities, even beliefs.
Yes, and when any of those things change, whether you choose the change or whether it is forced on you, you can feel lost.
Forced on you, that's another important dimension, because sometimes we choose to let go, but sometimes life takes things from us without our permission.
Yes, a job ends, a relationship ends, a health situation changes everything, and suddenly you're someone different because circumstances changed.
And in those situations, the question of identity becomes even more urgent, because you didn't plan this, you didn't choose this, and yet here you are, in a new version of your life.
And the question is the same even if the path is different. Who am I now? What matters to me now? What do I want to build from here?
Those are three really beautiful questions. Who am I now? What matters to me now? What do I want to build from here?
And they are not questions you answer once and then you're done. They're questions you live with. You come back to them. Your answers evolve as you evolve.
That's a very healthy way to think about identity, not as something fixed, but as something alive, something that grows and changes with you.
A living identity, not a statue, not something carved in stone, but something breathing, growing, becoming.
I love that. A living identity.
And I think this connects to something really important, which is the idea of not being defined by your past.
Not being defined by your past. Okay, so this is different from denying your past, right?
Right. We're not saying your past doesn't matter. Your past shaped you. Your experiences made you who you are. They have value.
But your past doesn't have to be your destiny. Just because something happened to you doesn't mean it defines your future.
Destiny. Let's briefly look at that word. Destiny means your future, what is meant to happen to you, where you are going.
And some people believe that their destiny is fixed, that because of where they came from or what happened to them, their future is already decided.
But I believe destiny is something you help create. It's not entirely fixed. You have agency.
Agency. What a great word. Agency means the power to make choices and take actions, to have an effect on your own life.
You have agency, even in difficult circumstances, even when things feel out of control. There are always small choices you can make, small actions you can take, and over time, those small choices add up.
Small choices add up. That's reassuring, because sometimes change feels so big and overwhelming that you don't know where to start.
But you don't have to change everything at once. You just have to make one small different choice today, and then another one tomorrow.
And one day you look back and you realize how far you've come without it feeling like one huge dramatic leap.
A series of small steps, each one easy enough to take, but together they carry you somewhere completely new.
I want to go back to something you said earlier about being defined by your past, because I think there's a particular challenge that comes up for people who had a very difficult past.
Yes, for people who went through trauma or a very hard childhood or a period of really poor choices, there can be a strong pull to stay identified with that pain.
Identified with the pain, so the pain becomes part of who they are, it becomes their story, in some ways it becomes their identity.
And that can happen unconsciously. You don't choose it deliberately, but somewhere along the way, the pain became the lens through which you see yourself.
Lens, that's a great metaphor, like the lens of a camera. Whatever lens you use changes what the image looks like. If you see the world through the lens of pain or shame, everything looks darker.
And changing that lens is not easy. It's not as simple as just thinking positive thoughts. It's deeper work than that.
But it is possible. People do it every day. People who went through incredibly difficult things and still found a way to rewrite their story.
Rewrite their story. Yes, you're both the author and the character, and as the author, you have more power than you think.
I like that. You're both the author and the character. The character goes through the experiences, but the author decides what those experiences mean, what story they're part of.
And you can decide that your difficult past is not a story of defeat. It's a story of survival, of strength, of becoming.
Becoming, yes, that's such a hopeful word, becoming. It means you're not finished, you're still in process, still changing, still growing.
And becoming is always happening. As long as you're alive, you are becoming something.
The question is, are you choosing consciously who you are becoming, or are you just drifting?
Drifting, like a boat without a destination, going wherever the current takes you, not actively steering. And that's not always bad. Sometimes drifting is necessary. Sometimes you need a period of rest and no direction.
True, there's wisdom in that sometimes, especially after a big loss or change. You can't always be actively steering. Sometimes you just need to float.
Float, rest, recover, and then when you're ready, you pick up the oars again and start rowing.
And you get to choose which direction. That's the gift of conscious becoming.
Okay, I think we should talk about one more thing before we wrap up, and that is forgiveness, because I think letting go of who you used to be also involves forgiving yourself for who you used to be.
Oh, this is so important, because sometimes the old version of ourselves did things we're not proud of, said things we regret, made choices that hurt others or hurt ourselves.
And if we're still carrying guilt or shame about those things, it's very hard to fully step into a new version of ourselves.
Guilt and shame. They're slightly different, actually. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Guilt is about an action. Shame is about your identity.
That's an important distinction, because guilt can be healthy. It's the signal that says, what I did was not in line with my values. I should make it right if I can. I shouldn't do it again.
But shame is different. Shame attacks who you are, not what you did. And shame doesn't help you grow. It just makes you feel like you're broken, like you are fundamentally wrong.
And shame tends to keep people stuck, because if you believe you are bad at the core, why would you try to change? You believe it's pointless.
So forgiving yourself is not about saying what you did was okay if it wasn't. It's about releasing the shame, separating the action from your identity.
I did something I regret, but that is not who I am. I'm capable of more. I'm choosing more.
I'm capable of more. I'm choosing more. That's a powerful self-statement.
Self-statement, so a statement you make about yourself to guide who you are becoming. Yes, the words we say to ourselves matter enormously. They're not just thoughts, they actually shape the neural pathways in our brain over time.
Neural pathways, so the physical paths in the brain that information travels along. The more you think a thought, the stronger that pathway becomes.
Which means the way you speak to yourself is literally building or breaking down your brain's architecture over time.
That's both scary and exciting.
It is scary because it means negative self-talk does real harm. But it is exciting because it means positive, compassionate self-talk does real good.
You can literally change your mind by changing the words you say to yourself.
Not overnight, but over time, with consistency and patience.
This is connecting back to everything we have been talking about. Awareness, self-compassion, patience, courage, forgiveness. They are all part of the same process.
Letting go of who you used to be is not one single decision. It is 1,000 small decisions made again and again over time.
1,000 small decisions. I think that is one of the most honest and accurate things you have said today, because it removes the pressure of getting it right all at once.
You do not have to wake up tomorrow completely transformed. You just have to make slightly better choices. Think slightly kinder thoughts about yourself. Take one small step toward who you want to become.
And those small things done consistently are what change a life.
They really are, and you're already doing it. The fact that you are here, listening, learning, thinking about these ideas, that is already a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. The fact that you are asking these questions about who you are, who you want to become, that already shows growth.
Because not everyone asks these questions. Some people go through their whole life on autopilot, never questioning, never reflecting, never considering who they are becoming.
And you are not doing that. You are here, you are thinking, you are choosing to grow.
And we're really glad you are here with us for this conversation.
Me too. This has been one of those episodes that I think I needed just as much as anyone listening.
Yes, I think when we talk about these things, we are also reminding ourselves. We are also processing our own journey.
And that's the beauty of a good conversation. It's never just for one person. It creates something between people, a shared space of understanding.
A shared space of understanding. What a beautiful way to describe it. Okay, let's move toward wrapping up. Can you summarize the main ideas we talked about today?
Yes, of course. We started by talking about identity and how much of our sense of self was formed when we were very young.
And how we sometimes carry those old identities far longer than they are useful.
And we talked about the courage it takes to question those old stories and identities, even when they feel familiar and safe.
We talked about the grief that comes with letting go, because even if the old version of you was not serving you, it was still yours, and letting it go is a real loss.
We talked about relationships and how your growth can sometimes create tension with the people around you, and the importance of compassionate communication through those moments.
We talked about habits and how change has to happen at the level of behavior, not just the level of intention, and how the brain builds new pathways through consistent repetition.
We talked about self-compassion, about being kind to yourself during the messy middle of change, about forgiving yourself for who you used to be.
And we ended with a reminder that you are not finished. You are always becoming, and becoming is one of the most hopeful and alive things a person can do.
Always becoming. I love that as a closing idea.
And now, as we always like to do, we want to ask you, our listener, one reflective question to carry with you today.
Here's the question. Who is the version of yourself that is waiting to emerge? And what is one small thing you can do this week to give that version a little more space?
Think about that. You do not have to have all the answers. Just sit with the question. Let it be there. Let it show you something.
And if you feel comfortable, we would love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us one thing from today's conversation that spoke to you, or tell us about your own experience of letting go and growing.
We read every comment, and your words genuinely mean a lot to us. This community we're building together, it's something really special.
It really is. And a quick note for our English learners. If any words or phrases from today's conversation were new for you, write them down. Use them in a sentence. Say them out loud. That's how language becomes part of you.
Some of the key words from today include stuck, identity, authentic, courage, inner work, acknowledge, self-compassion, transformation, disorientation, agency, and becoming.
Practice those words, use them, own them.
And remember, the best way to improve your English is to keep listening, keep engaging, and keep showing up.
Like you did today.
Like you did today.
Okay, it's time to say goodbye for today. But before we do, just one more thing. Wherever you are in your journey, whatever version of yourself you are currently moving through or moving out of, you are not alone.
You are not alone. There are so many people on the same path, growing, questioning, becoming. Some of them are listening to this very episode right now.
We are all figuring it out together, and that's enough.
That is more than enough.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. This has been the Easy Speak podcast. I'm your host.
And I'm your co-host. We'll see you in the next episode.
Until then, keep listening, Keep learning and keep growing.
Take care of yourself. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, everyone.